What? Yeah, with Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate joined me. Thanks for joining
Okay.
me, Nate.
I was like, whoa, that's some sync join.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I roll Livy, but she's not answering, so we were just chatting in Spanish. So let's start. Intentions and distractions. Nate.
Intentions. Enjoy Hatcher Outreach. No distractions. Yeah, my wife is not in the background in her meetings today. She's off-site and back in the office, so
Whoa.
yeah. But I will pass it to Tam.
Intentions, sync up with everyone. Distractions, just got off the call now, so just doing a little context switching mentally, but no, not many. I'll context switch them fast. And I'll pass to Septimus.
Thanks, Tam. Yeah, my intention is similar than Tam. Same with you guys. Get the recording done, and yeah, I'm a bit distracted because I'm looking at the forum. F-sync, because like Griffin engage a really new thread. That's cool. But yeah, fully present, to be honest. And I'll pass it to Manu.
Intention. I don't want to copycat, but same as Sam, just seeing what's up, seeing if I can help. I have some bandwidth left. Y video's almost done, so I'm trying to see what else I can help with, and no distractions whatsoever. Just had a breakfast and I'm ready to go. Back to you, Edu.
Nice. Intentions to sync, basically, and also I had the intention to get some alignment with Livy and Criff if they arrive. That would be nice. And distractions, none whatsoever. So, do you want to start with Hatch Outreach at Ham? If you have any, you're muted. Sorry.
Yes, sure. So I don't know how much there is to talk about. I guess maybe I'll just talk for a few minutes and save a lot of this time for projects. The Hatch Outreach, we're sort of like ramping down on the one-on-one calls and like ramping up on having communication that's much more mass consumable. So from the perspective of this last call, there's a few things that clicked with me while I was on the call. One of them was, it was with somebody from Positive Blockchain IO. So he sort of was, I didn't realize this when I was on the call with him. He sort of told me this on the call, but that he'd, like to be a multiplier. So like get the message out to people in Positive Blockchain and such. And I thought, oh man, wouldn't it be great if I had just something I could share with him that could be like, here, send this to everyone and it's sort of like we're using it as the deck with like the links and, the actions and all of this. But, I was thinking, just one page, I'm going back to my one pager. It was just this one page I could share so he could send it to everyone. But for now, it's sort of like that's still being constructed. But I think, the idea of like, spending those hours and those one-on-one sessions, like switching it to being like, this one pager is going to be the thing that we just be like, shoot everywhere, is really appealing to me. And it's sort of taking some roots. The other thing that came to me was like, God, I wish I recorded that session. Like, why didn't I record it and just upload it to YouTube? And there'd be like, people could just watch the Hatch Outreach session. So I think that this was an idea early on when we were doing these, but it was like, well, we were doing the script from the paper and I didn't really have the flow, my own flow. And now that I have the flow down a little bit, I think that's something I would like to do. Because I think that just being able to watch that at like 2x speed, is enough for most people to actually have answered have a lot of those questions. So in my own mind, I thought, I should probably do that. Although it's, Manu. Mute. You're on mute, Manu.
Man, that never happened to me. Okay, well, I was saying I have a video recorded session of a hatch outreach you did with Atta and me. I don't know if this one is different. I actually transcribed it. So I spoke to Griff and I'm coming in as a content publisher and distributor. So I definitely want to help you with the having those type of assets where, okay, it's one page and just you send it to other people, just make it as a sort of like a command line, where, so I have a recording, it's already transcribed. I understand your diagram and I'm interested in putting it into words and also exploring for different audiences. Like, is it going to be for token engineers or for software developers or for, people who have from other paths of life, from who are not as engineering focused. But yeah, I can help you with that, Tom.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm really excited to hear that. I'm not sure the one with Atta is the one that's the best one. I don't really remember it, but so many things have changed in terms of the diagrams and the charts that are in the new deck. So I would say, I think I have another outreach session tomorrow. And with Jeff, Jeff. And maybe that's one, but I would love if you could help polish it and make it nice. Like that's a skill set that you have. That's amazing. I'd love to take you up on that. So maybe we can work together for that.
Yeah, if I could come in and record it, or if you can record it and just later pass it to me, whichever way, I'm gonna watch it probably twice to like write it. So I mean, whatever it is, I can I have the ability to be present and record it and then transcribe it, or you record it, send it to me, whatever works. Cool.
Excellent. It probably comes down to timing, and I'll check with you if you can join on one of them. And I think it'll also come down to like, hey, which is actually a good recording? Like, what's a good session? Some of the sessions are like go off on the tangents and rails. So yeah, I think I'm really excited to have and happily accept your help on this. So thanks for that.
I have another one that it could be challenging but interesting to record. It's someone recommended by Dan. It's a woman focused on the commons. And so she has a heavily knowledge of the commons, but she doesn't have much knowledge of these like DE, the engineering. So it could be a nice one also to see. Anyways.
When you're having that call, Edu, I might join, since like the idea is like this was at least join one.
Yes.
And I could record it if needed. Or I can also delete it then if we don't want to keep it.
Yeah. Perfect. We should have it on Friday, but she still needs to confirm the date, the time. So I will let you know. Nate, do you have any feedback from the Hatch Outreach with Tam?
Yeah, Nate, we didn't get a chance to talk. How'd I do? I'd love to hear some feedback.
You did fantastic, actually. It's pretty awesome. I really like the way you explained the phases of the hatch and the commons upgrade process, because that's a very difficult thing to accomplish. It's a very complex process, but to boil it down into just these kind of like, you vote, you change into a new thing, and you vote again, you change into a new thing. Having that process is really good. I always get worried about the whole like soft commit thing when engaging with a Hatcher outreach about the soft commit, especially when like there's more than just you, because it's it goes from an individual one-on-one thing to like, oh, I'm exposing this very what a lot of people feel is a private thing in their financial matters in front of multiple people. And so I don't know if having an alternative to voicing that over the call, whether it be sending it to you in a private way, is an alternative method to doing that.
I think there was this session camp that I remember I stole that from your speech, which was like setting your example first when asking for soft comment. Like explaining your own situation, that help people to sort of easy, like it takes the tone down, it takes it down to a way that people can relate and not take it too seriously. And also the phrase that she has on the deck, which is a non-binding number, that is a very comfort zone also, because it's like, hey, it's just a number, we will take in consideration, but you can change, all this like explanation. I think that description in the deck is really helpful to sort of not make it awkward, even if there is two people, because I feel like, oh, you already passed through that too. You are also had to think what was your own self commit. So, oh, okay, fine. It's not that you're only asking that from me. So I think that's a good exercise and method.
Yeah, that was my first one. I don't know. Have you guys had any like pushback or rejection of participating in that so far?
Oh yes.
Some, not a lot though. I think the thing that takes the pressure off are two things. One is that it's kind of like a favor to us. It doesn't have to be accurate. You don't have to know exactly. It's a range. Is it around 100, around 1,000, around 10,000? And then the second thing is, it's a number we take, we add to the other numbers, and we throw away. We don't keep it. We don't need to track it. We don't need to know, we don't come back and follow up and see if you've committed what you've said you would commit. It's more about, and the reason it's a favor to us is like, we see the params, we see that that's a parameter we have to set. So as a community, we can only make an educated guess, an educated decision with sufficient data points. And so it's basically like, can you give us a data point to add to our other data points to have a complete picture? But yeah, I think a lot of people just maybe want to take more time, and then that's okay too. Then I don't do too much chasing people, to be honest, because I think that it's cool to have, but we're not going to fail without every single person soft commit. So if we don't have it, that's okay too. Yeah, but it's rare for me, actually.
And I thought you did a really amazing job in terms of just like the type of person Ronald was and his understanding of the TEC and like his, I guess, the perception of him and his willingness to participate within the TEC, which I would say was kind of like on a more minimal side, but he did have an interest in actually, amplifying our message and moving that and just like pivoting and saying, okay, let's focus on, getting the most out of you in terms of, what you can provide for the TEC rather than just like, money or money type thing. So I thought that was really awesome.
Those are like, for me, the best outreaches, when you find these people who are actually clear about it, and then they're so excited, or they're so interested, or they're keen to help, that they give you this kind of energy feedback that it's like so nice to have, I think. Anyways, anything else on this outreach, Sam?
Some of his feedback was that it's still a very technical subject, and he'd also like to help us make it more accessible to non-technical audiences. He's an economist by profession, so it's interesting. I said I would follow up with him to see how he can contribute and where, and like maybe there's I think he'd like to, he's very busy, but I think we can possibly, as like stewards, right? Like now we're talking to the stewards of the TC, possibly find ways for him to contribute in a meaningful way on a particular piece or on a particular concept or on feedback for UX. I invited him to the Hatch Param parties. So the new thing that I'm doing, I just sent the Hatcher outreach deck, so he has that as well. Griff's new forum post to the Param parties, to invite him to come to one of the parties. It's the more people that understand, the more people that can get the word out, actually. So it's really, really cool. He seemed really really interested, like not more than interested, like in, it's not like he's interested in being in, he's like, he's in. So that was cool.
Yeah, sometimes there's these calls where people are like, oh yeah, like, you even dare to ask me if I'm in? Of course I'm in. Like this, they take it for granted. That that they are in. I have a question that it was asked by James from Giveth. He has been delayed on applying to the scholarship, and he asked until when will he have time to apply. That question derivates into what is the time frame that we have for this kind of stuff?
He can apply for the scholarship anytime. So he can, there's no cutoff. I mean, when the hatch closes, then the scholarship will not have well, actually, maybe we keep maybe we keep it. But when the hatch closes, he can no longer participate in the hatch, right? So he's in Giveth, the scholarship's on Giveth. I have a feeling he's not going to have any problems applying for a scholarship, and and it's not, I wouldn't say he has to do it I'd say he should do it as soon as he can, but he's not close to too late yet. So I wouldn't.
Do we have a sort of an approximation of the closing of the hatch date?
So the hatch duration is one of the parameters, and we will know soon. We'll be voting next week for the first runoff. The first vote, and then the week after will be the runoff vote. So by, let's say the 18th, 20th, the 18th of May, we'll know what the duration of the hatch will be. And it's the community that decides, of course. So
yeah, and from what I understand, that once we have that hatch period defined within the parameters and we open it, we'll still be able to take trusted seed applications up until a certain point, maybe like a week before the hatch period closes or something like that.
Probably up until the hatch period closes. And you raised a good point, because the question is, I guess, trusted seed, I don't know that Common Stock is going to close the scholarship to trusted seed, right? So trusted seed, you're going to still be able to apply to trusted seed to activate your membership. We might continue to make a scholarship available to people, but it just means that if you do it in June, or let's say you do it in July, you can't then participate in the hatch, right? The hatch is a one-time event, and it happens and then it's done. You can't then come back into it later. But I would say, the dates in the deck have been May 10th, May 20th. I'm suggesting people apply to Trusted Seed by May 10th, because it can take up to 10 days, and activate their membership by May 20th. But those are just just pulling those dates out of thin air, really, more than it's a recommendation. So the sooner he does it, the better.
I did have a question about the Trusted Seed in terms of the C-Stack tokens specifically. I know Common Stack had the plans to burn the tokens of the members who did not activate their Trusted Seed membership. Are they going to remint those tokens after the hatch period is over? Or is it,
Yeah. So the burning of the C-Stack, yay! This is the fun one of this week. So if you haven't activated your membership, right? So if you've let's separate the two cases. If you've activated your membership, your score is final, right? All of your accumulated C-Stack score has already been transferred into your membership. So that's one set. Anyone who hasn't activated their membership have this pending score. They've accumulated, a reputational score. Let's call it 100, okay? And if they haven't activated their membership, their tokens are all burned. There's going to be, we're going to retain a record of that membership, so that 100 score is kept somewhere, so that when that person, this Ethereum address, activates their membership on the DApp, that score is then later credited, or added to their current score that they get for their membership dues.
Gotcha. And so we can just mint those tokens when they activate their Trusted Seed membership.
That's right. So the information's not going to be lost.
Okay. Gotcha.
But right now, but there's some work that the Swiss membership DApp team has to do to try to automate that process, because that process is going to be just unwieldy for a little while until the DApp can handle that process on its own. But yeah, people won't lose their score. So the tokens will be burned, but the scores will be kept. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. That's it on Hatch Outreach.
Well, I would say, I have, if you guys are interested in seeing it, like a really rough draft of what Joe has done for this new diagram. I shared it with, I had a call with Eduardo this morning, so I shared it with him. It might be worth sharing, but with a disclaimer that like, it's rough. It's come from like 1 hour of talking with Joe. So it's sort of like, there's just, there's some pieces I've already given feedback and we're going to incorporate it, but just for sort of an idea of the direction that we're going, I think it might be helpful actually. So it's sort of going to start looking more like this. So we're going to get rid of my little chicken and and we're going to have something that looks a little bit better. And I'm liking the direction we're going. It's going to be, the TEC Live is actually going to be its own diagram now. And it's sort of going to be phase 1, phase 2, and then the TEC is live, because the TEC Live is not quite accurate now. So we're going to building it out a little bit. Just overall, the direction is much better. And I'm feeling really comfortable with like the momentum that we're getting with being able to have something tangible too. So maybe I could just share that. I guess by next week, hopefully we'll have something more closer to ready. But yeah, I think it'll take at least a week, if not 2 more weeks.
Do you feel, besides this document and does it come to mind any other document that we should have? I mean, it's not necessarily for hatchers, but we could be thinking on documents that are just needed for the sake of this process. Or anyone else may think on something that it's missing or that we are missed out.
What do you mean?
Just to understand that if we sort of, I think we have documentation that it's needed to sort of have an idea. We have the TLDR, we have how to become a hatcher, we have all the documents. But these documents, for example, yours serves a purpose not only for now, for the present, but also serves a purpose for explaining what has done and eventually the hatch and so on. And so I'm just wanna see if we have all this, if we have all the documents that we think we need, or if they were missing something out.
There's probably more we can have. So my idea right now around this is sort of like where we're going, but like, I see it as a few things right now, right? So there's this super simple version, which is like 2 phases. So for the TEC hatch, right? There's 2 phases. Each phase has 3 steps. So phase 1, submit, vote, launch. Phase 2, submit, vote, launch, right? So from the simplest form is just those 2 things. And I think that like just still having that, Jess did in the Hatch article, Jess did that version, the super simple version. Like she pulled that together from the things. So something like that, but more in this visual ID, using this visual ID, I think will be nice. And then this will be like the medium. So there's some information around it, phase 1 and phase 2. Which will be nice. Then the TEC economy is open. That's its own thing, right? That's like, this is our future. Like, this is how we get to the future, but this TEC Live, this is our future. This is what's going to exist, right? So I think that those are like 3 separate pieces. And then there's this 1 pager. And I think it like exists mostly in my mind and on like a drawing pad. And it's like possibly like number 2 with like details in the margin. So if you look at, I'll bring it back up for a minute. I don't have it up. But if you look at, this 1 pager is this thing that I keep thinking about, like, I have someone in my mind, a particular person who's one of the people that's on our list to reach out to. It's like, we can't reach out to them yet because we don't have a document that will get that person's attention. We don't have that information, we have some people who are like, okay, when you have something, share it with me, right? And it's like, we need that thing to share with that person so that we can, actually get some of their time, because time is so valuable for everyone, right? An hour is a lot to ask. So it's this thing, like we're taking out the minimum raise. It's just too complicated for this, but it's like on the margins will be the minimum raise. And here with the common stack score, on the margins will be, the common stack score. So you'll see a very clean diagram, but then if you want to drill into the details along the margins, there will be these like detail windows, right? So we could talk about this, this voting here, but we don't really talk about how cool quadratic voting is and token log. So that'll be like pulled to the margin. So this is my visualization for this one pager piece, which will include this as well as text to explain some of the cooler elements. And then the TEC live one, I don't know, we'll have to do something neat with that too. This is speaking with Jeff last week and just today around this, the heavy piece that we probably still need, that I know has been sort of like in Jeff's mind, is like the why, right? Why are we doing this? Like, why are we doing the bonding curve? What is the bonding curve? What's the element of the bonding curve that makes it special? What is this hatch tax? The hatch tribute, and like making sure that when people enter and exit the TEC, there is this regenerative funding that goes back into the pool. Like all of those little mechanisms that are still a little vague, for me and maybe for a lot of us, are like let's show that now visually, and let's write that down. And I think that's the next really neat piece. Like we did the what is the TEC, and now the why is the TEC. Why the bonding curve? Why conviction voting? Why disputable voting? Why like the vision of where we'll be and why those things, I think is like the next. I think that's going to be like the next meaty piece. And I'm hoping along the same time, I can sort of help build this one pager around like, a lot of Joe's work and some text that we can pull together so he can organize it well and nicely. And I think those are like, those are really in my front and center right now, that stuff. And I think the why piece is also advertising for the hatch, right? Like we could also do the why piece later because, but if we do it before the hatch, I think it's much more compelling for people to know why the bonding curve is actually such an important part of this, why we chose the bonding curve, why we're choosing conviction voting, what makes those so special.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think that having a piece, I don't know if Santi or Griff or you have thought about this or talked about it, but like using the hatch process and just the like kind of defining like the legal strategy that we are using and how this hatch process kind of mimics that legal strategy as a kind of innovative thing that we're doing in the space. I think that could be really useful in terms of people who are more oriented towards like, hey, how do I protect myself? And like, why is it designed this way? And like, why are we having this process in the first place? And I think putting that within a legal narrative would be really interesting to read and really important to explain in simple terms.
And I actually believe that it's like that narrative that you just expressed. I always imagine things visually in this sense, but like I imagine literally at 3-4 path, where one path is illegal, parallel to the cultural, parallel to the technical one, and then the explanation of how these three sort of came together into this process. And that will make sense for a lot of people depending on which path they pick. If you pick the legal one, their explanation of how it intersects with the other ones. If you pick the cultural one, it has a sense of how it intersects with the other one. And if you pick the tech, but none, like they are parallel to each other. They are not like there's no priority in theory. Probably there is for the tech one, but so I think it's interesting when you mentioned this why. It will be interesting to not forget what this legal and this cultural part of why these tools were picked, because they were picked not only because of the technical part, but also because they have probably a legal sense to it and also a cultural sense to it. So imagining all these three things together in a why video explaining the tools and detailed information of the why, I think will make full circle sense in a way. Does anyone has anything else to comment on the piece of time?
No, I don't think anything else.
I guess just I really feel what you say about creating a medium article that goes into the why. I think the medium articles, it's so complex that the ones that I've read, they go into explaining and maybe the background of the writer, but I really want to make it like emotional, sort of like a personal essay type of framework. And this is so, I mean, it's such a meaningful thing that we're doing, and it has incredible ramifications, and I don't think we have even began to touch the surface of that. That's just it's the stuff poets write about, and it's something that I wanna in my role as putting content out. Sure, there has to be stuff that gets explained, but really touching on people's sensibilities and the emotional aspect of what we're doing, the fact that we're putting out time, not necessarily getting paid. Some of us, I mean, sure, we're getting tokens, but the sacrifice of it, it's just very compelling to read, and that just I feel goes into the why that you described, Pam. And it's something that I wanna. I'll write about. I'll write about that. It's very interesting to me to explore that. That's
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for saying that. Actually, it's interesting. And I can see that actually just being a distinct piece, right? Like there's the token engineering focused audience, like why bonding curve, right? Like, and explaining the nitty gritty details of that. And then there's like your piece is actually like a little lighter, but also really important, right? Like, why are we doing all of this? I actually meant the why in terms of why the hatch, more in terms of like why the variables that were selected. And yours is more like, why are we doing this? Which I think is really cool and like community driven, right? So I would say that's more of a community driven approach more than like, hey, token engineers, you want to know, or like, I don't know, any engineers, like anybody interested in like crypto economics, you want to know why these pieces are chosen and how they fit together versus like this really community appeal. So I like your idea too, Manu.
I do have a something I keep questioning every time, especially within comms, within the TEC, is the why content that we're talking about, whether that fits in with the TEC obligations, or that if that should be a common stack narrative that should be communicated by common stack, and seeing those two things blend together, it's kind of hard to say this is strictly TEC, this is strictly common stack, because I do think a lot of the things that we're talking about here could be applied to the common stack comms responsibilities or obligations, but it may not fit specifically within the TEC.
Yeah, I think we've had this discussion, right, of the common stack too, as well as TEC, and it sort of comes to we're both involved, right? But it's like the common stack will talk about their point of view, the design pattern, why we chose these elements from the design pattern, right? And then the TEC will talk about it from the TEC point of view, why we're doing these things too. So perhaps this article, and I think of this article more as a common stack thing too, right? It's like why this is the design, the why of the design, right? So yeah, I agree with that. And I think that for the hatch of the TEC, for the TEC, it's an important piece to have, right? Why are these design elements selected, and how are they going to impact the operations of the TEC when it's live, compared to other models that are possible.
Yeah, I see that document as a kind of a validation of the decision making that it was done to pick the tools and so on. So it kind of it makes sense, and it makes us look coherent in the decision making of picking certain tools like conviction voting or whatever other one. Yeah. All right. So shall we move to projects? I mean, we should. I sort of need. Sorry. I would like to have Livy here present. We have actually a follow-up tomorrow with Decade, where we will do a first approach. The call is at 4 p.m. Mainly because we find like a thing with the proposal, which is the proposal includes the TE Academy. TE Academy hasn't proposed yet, and we don't know so far if the Academy approved the use of their, like, approved, if they are aware that Decade are using their documentation to do their own course on token engineering. So we want to have just like a catch-up call with them and Libby to understand, because Libby asked this on the forum on their proposal, to see if they can collaborate or if they can like put together another kind of proposal between them or whatever. So that led to the process of reading all the proposals and checked, sort of understanding what it's going on with the proposals that have been submitted. A few things came as a conclusion for me. The first one is that they need updates. Some of them need some kind of catching up. Some of them present dates that are not accurate anymore because time has passed since they proposed. So I was going to propose in this meeting to probably re-engage with them through on the forum, through the process of sort of saying, hey, we are in this part of the process of the hatch. We would just like to know if this information is still accurate. We would like to have a one-on-one, just to have like a kind of engaged way that doesn't lead to hard work or doesn't lead for them to like redo it again. It's just to check, just a temperature check about how they are with the proposal, if anything has changed, in a way to sort of foster the engage with them and to get to know more. My intention with this is also to get to know more the proposals deeply in, and an intention or things that were not put on the proposal necessarily on the text. So to start creating this kind of relationship, if possible, with them, because all of them were picked by Jess, most of them. I think 5 out of the 10 proposals were picked by Jess, but they want to follow up. So I will. My intention for as a result of this process of going through them is to sort of re-engage with them in a soft way, not demanding way, and just to check on them how they are. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has any feedback on this or want to comment.
I had a sync with Jess earlier today as well, and sort of the idea of these, a lot of these proposals came up because, she's doing, ecosystem and partnership for Common Stack. So she already has a lot of, touch points with many of the people, including with many groups and projects, including some of them that are on our proposal. Metagov, I think Pictosis is going to withdraw their request since they have funding, and they don't want to use the funding if they already have funding. So she, I think she has some updates already, actually, that she might be able to sort of share on the forum, because she's had conversations, and her and Jeff have been in contact with a lot of these projects as they're just dealing with ecosystem partnerships. So I wonder if we strategically might want to first, before you reach out to them, see where we are internally. So what kind of, where Jess is with some of them. And I think she said, agreed that she can update the forum, so sort of like not update the forum, but like share some information and sort of help with that a lot too. Which could be
Welcome, Libby. We are talking about the next steps towards the proposals. And then Tam was answering my proposal of basically do a temperature check with the proposals that have been submitted through an engage on the forum, just to check if they wanted an update, if they are okay, just to check a passive kind of non check-in. And then Tam mentioned the fact that Jess is or was in contact with any of these proposals, and she probably has some updates, and I agree that the best step, the first step to do probably will be to reach Jess first to check on her and see where the updates on these proposals, and then if needed, then have to do a follow-up. So that's where we will talk in. Livy, do you want to comment something on that?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I just saw your message to jump in. I think that's a a good approach, and maybe even these discussions can. I'm not sure. Are you saying something, Eduardo? I'm not sure. You're muted. Oh, maybe not with us.
No, I was just listening. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this. I think this will eventually move away from the hatch discussion. That's what I imagine.
Okay. I'm sharing briefly. I did the classifications of proposal that has been submitted so far on the forum. With a just estimate amount that they put it there. This is just for comprehensive description. The idea, this was part of the proposal deck, so people can have an idea of the range different people has asked, and so they don't feel like confused or anything. So basically, here I brought this question to the meeting I had with Tam first in the morning, which was, we have nothing on talking engineering's narrative and outreach. And I asked them, and this is the same question to translate to everyone, if everyone feels this is something that needs to be worked on, or the conversation we had with Tam was like, we don't need to cover all the fill the blanks, let's say in a way. And my response to this was that it could be I had a different approach, which I had to correct basically. So yeah, so this is the classification we had, and then within this, for example, Tech Labs needs to be updated. It's not up to date, and then DK will have the meeting tomorrow with Livy, and some of them has like a lot of potential of being together or sort of a merge or like join forces or whatever you want to call it. But as you may see, we have a lot of open source tools and research. I mean, a lot. We have a few of open source tools and research. And education, we have a little less. And yeah, the feedback from this is that also a lot of these proposals were submitted by an individual rather than a community. Like, not a lot. Few of them were submitted by individual. And another ones of them were not specific on like the purpose of how they expected to execute the proposal. So they just explain the proposal without any kind of clarification of the execution. And that was something that I found curious, because I will think that if you have proposed, you will have sort of an idea of the steps that you will follow to execute it, but only two of them had that. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this is great that you did the. It's really cool to be able to see it, and I think, yeah, I agree that I don't think they had the full understanding of it, and that our communication was very confusing for a long time, and I think that was the main reason why people didn't have the full understanding, and also because the hatch delayed. So I think there was maybe an expectation that this was going to happen earlier, and then there was the delay, and then the proposals are still there. So I feel like there was a lot of holes from our side to like help people on this journey.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I would like to have to do this soft outreach to seek for updates, or with Jess and then eventually with them, to see just to care about them in a way, and show that we care that they have proposed. That's the main intention of this. And yeah, that's my feedback on these proposals. We will take it from tomorrow's meeting with how about their name, Decade, to see where they are at. And I think that will serve as an example also to understand. I mean, they are very active. So they are not the typical proposal. None of the other proposals has been like this active. So we will take it from there, and then Livy, you and I probably can sync on the next steps regarding the proposals part, if you feel like it. All right. Does anyone has something else to comment on?
Is Decade the peer-to-peer education platform?
Yes, it is. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have 5 minutes. So enjoy your coffee, your tea, enjoy your chair, whatever you want to do. And thank you so much for joining this call.